As we prepare to watch the upcoming Democrat debate, I want us to remember the candor, the honesty of the last debate, exemplified by Cory Booker.
You are trying to shift the view from what you created. There are people right now in prison for life for drug offenses because you stood up and used that tough on crime, phony rhetoric that got a lot of people elected, but destroyed communities like mine.
On night one, the socialists, they promised to bankrupt the country. Everything else they lied about. Free healthcare, free tuition, free daycare, free money. Now, on night two, we actually got a glimpse of what the Democrat Party really stood for and some of the past actions of these candidates. But Tulsi Gabbard went a little too hard on Kamala Harris. And they cut off her social media. They banned her from the next debate, this one. And so nobody else wanted that fate. So now they're going to play nice. But as they lie to the American people, I want you to remember what they said last time, because they were being truthful.
Vice President Biden says that your current position on busing, you're opposed to federally mandated busing, that position is the same as his position. Is he right?
That is simply false. And let's be very clear about this. When Vice President Biden was in the United States Senate working with segregationists to oppose busing, which was the vehicle by which we would integrate America's public schools, had those segregationists their way, I would not be a member of the United States Senate, Cory Booker would not be a member of the United States Senate, and Barack Obama would not have been in a position to nominate him to the title he now holds.
Really? So Biden was a segregationist, didn't want black kids going to school with his kids.
When Senator Harris was the Attorney General for 8 years in the state of California, there were two of the most segregated school districts in the country, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. And she did not, I didn't see a single solitary time she brought a case against them to desegregate them. Secondly,
20 years from now, a little black girl named Latifah, who went to Crenshaw High School, is gonna look at Kamala. She's gonna say, I was that little girl. These people are fake as hell.
she also is in a situation where she had a police department when she was there that in fact was abusing people's rights. So what happened? Along came a federal judge and said, enough, enough, and he freed 1,000 of these people. If you doubt me, Google 1,000 prisoners freed, Kamala Harris.
She abused people's rights, you see, because she used drug evidence that was tampered with. That's right, Kamala Harris was locking people up over drug offenses. But the evidence was tampered with. She didn't let the defense know. And so they threw out thousands of cases that she was prosecuting.
For what has been the important work of reforming a criminal justice system and cleaning up the consequences of the bills that you passed when you were in the United States Senate for decades.
Reform? Are you kidding me? Biden put these laws on the books, but you enforced them, Senator Harris. Biden can't hang. Biden can't hang. Let's move on to a real warrior. Check this out.
What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Not a good look. And again, locking people up for smoking weed.
She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
Blocking evidence from a man on death row? Are you kidding me? What's next? He's gonna enslave the prisoners?
She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you.
She should be ashamed. What does she have to say for herself?
And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches, to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform.
Let's get back to the war veteran.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Hiding evidence from people on death row?
That is my background. That is my work. I am proud of it. I think you can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage. But
what's up with this fancy thing? I mean, I think you can judge people when they're not used to being runner-up for the homecoming court. Anyway, enough of this garbage. Let's move on to this clown. Senator Bennett from Colorado. Sounds like some dude named Rufus. Rufus the truth teller.
When our schools are as segregated today as they were 50 years ago, I believe you can draw a straight line from slavery through Jim Crow, through the banking and the redlining to the mass incarceration. 88% of the people in our prisons dropped out of high school. Let's fix our school system and maybe we can fix the prison pipeline that we have.
Maybe one of the most honest things ever said at a Democrat debate. Think about it. The schools are a pipeline to jail. Who's been running the schools? The Democrats, the same people that are about to get on the stage and lie to you. Exactly. And on top of that, Senator Bennett said, you can draw a red line. Where's that red line? You can draw a line from Jefferson Davis, head of the Confederacy, from slavery, Democrat, to Jim Crow, which was made by Southern Democrat legislators, to redlining. Redlining was set up by FDR through the Federal Housing Administration, Democrat. To mass incarceration through the Clinton crime bill, Democrat, and first black president. And what does Biden think of the prison system that he and Clinton set up?
I think that we should change the way we look at prisons. Right now, we're in a situation where when someone is convicted of a drug crime, they end up going to jail and to prison. They should be going to rehabilitation. They shouldn't be going to prison. When in prison, they should be learning to read and write and not just sit in there and learn how to be better criminals. That when they get out of prison, they should be in a situation where they have access to everything they would have had before, including Pell Grants for education, including making sure that they're able to have housing, public housing.
Like you social justice warriors like to say, there's just too much to unpack here. But I want to talk about the very end where he's talking about getting people right back on the dole. You get out of jail, promise you get right back in public housing, and then back in jail, then in public housing. It's control.
Mr. Vice President has said that since the 1970s, every crime bill, major and minor, has had his name on it.
True. Biden has been the machine behind locking brothers up for the last 20, 30 years. You know, right after he decided he wasn't a segregationist anymore.
Since 2007, I, for example, tried to get the crack powder cocaine disparity totally eliminated.
First of all, anytime you hear a politician say they tried, that means they tried and failed.
In 2007, you became mayor. You had a police department you went out and you hired Rudy Giuliani's guy. You engaged in stop and frisk.
Stop and frisk, completely against the Fifth Amendment and unreasonable search and seizure.
You had 75% of those stops reviewed as illegal. You found yourself in a situation where 3 times as many African-American kids were caught in that chain and caught up.
And that's why the stuff is illegal. You can target a group of people, get them in the criminal justice system. Therefore, they're shut out of the employment. And once they're shut out of employment, they got to do more crime to live. Then they're back in jail.
The Justice Department came after you for saying you were engaging in behavior that was inappropriate. And then, in fact, nothing happened the entire time you were mayor.
So I think it's pretty obvious Cory Booker will infringe on your rights to make his political masters happy.
We have a system right now that's broken. And if you want to compare records, and frankly, I'm shocked that you do, I am happy to do that. Because all of the problems that he is talking about, that he created.
I mean, Biden is just too easy of a target. He set up an unequal justice system to target blacks, the exact people he wants to vote for him. And it's too easy, man. It's too easy. I mean, Senator Booker must be really feeling himself right now.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
Please tell me, nobody in Newark says that shit. Give me a break. Please make sure that nobody other than this bootlick, shucking and jiving fraudster says some dumbass shit like that. Please. And as much as Cory Booker is an embarrassment to the U.S. Senate and the American people and the human race, he did actually say something that was incredibly truthful. He told you the exact plan. Put it all on Biden, but this is what the Democratic Party is all about. You see, they distract you because of shifting the view, for creating a reality that you now live in that sucks. Talks about the prison. Using rhetoric, right? Using words to fool you to get your vote. All the meanwhile, destroying your community. Listen.
Sir, you are trying to shift the view from what you created. There are people right now in prison for life for drug offenses because you stood up and used that tough on crime, phony rhetoric that got a lot of people elected, but destroyed communities like mine.
Thanks for joining us again for the St. LibCon podcast. Here, we tell the truth, even when the Democrats are going to get on stage and lie to your face. Let's get it.